Hello, welcome to week 10. Heroes are optimistic with kindergarten heroes, and our hero of the week is George Washington Carver. So let's take a look at what's going on this week. First of all, make sure to update your map. We're through week 9, we're going on to week 10. And I haven't mentioned this in a couple of weeks, but make sure you're keeping your cotton character updated. And now that we're all the way in week 10, you can go back into all of the previous weeks, and if you see your little one and you catch them in character, paying attention, asking questions, exploring, learning, and all working hard, you can write that in. Just write your notes, and keep that updated so you have a nice keepsake. Okay, so these are some things that we're going to look at in our teacher folder. Let's look at our teacher folder first. So in our teacher folder, we've got guides, we've got posters, and it's generally the same setup as before. We've got the activities at a glance. We have the character connection to show how George Washington Carver used language, math, science, and social studies in his work, and also how your little one can tie in the character trait of the week with the different subjects as well. So make sure to read those every week as you introduce each of the sections of learning. You've got your definition pages, as always. The word list this week, it's short O sounds. And then you've got your answer keys for the assessments and also a worksheet, answer sheet as well. So over here in the poster section, you have, of course, the character trait poster like we always do. We have this quote poster, which I really like. It's George Washington Carver saying, it's start where you are with what you have, make something of it, and never stop. And George Washington Carver really embodied this because, for example, when he first started at Tuskegee University, it was just beginning. And he was all of a sudden in charge of the brand new agriculture department, had this room that was a lab, but it didn't have any equipment at all. So he went to the kitchen there and even the garbage cans there and was pulling out bottles and things that he could use in his lab. Obviously, it has come so far, but in that time, it was just brand new, and he had to really make something out of nothing. And wow, did he make something. He ended up making an amazing lab. He came up with a lot of really practical and useful ways to use peanuts and also teach farmers how to increase their crop yields because a lot of the farmers were very poor and didn't know these techniques. And he ended up even creating a wagon that he took to all these farms and taught thousands of farmers all these techniques. So he's just had such an amazing impact and is really an inspirational hero. So here's George Washington Carver. He's an agricultural scientist and educator. He really started more as a botanist, but he was really, really looking at farm science. He was very optimistic because in spite of very difficult circumstances, he just persisted and he always saw the good. He saw that there was good in spite of the bad, and he just made something of it. We have our short O poster, and then the rest of these posters are the ones we always have. The wise decisions, stepping through problems, the school days, number of days in school, and then the calm down poster. So you're pretty familiar with that. So those are our posters, and you also have the trouble spot and the escape route posters as well. So you're also going to have these reading strategies that you can introduce on Monday. This is the same one that we've been looking at while we've been looking at the short vowel, so you continue to use this one. You can also use the Get Your Mouth Ready reading strategy, and these are more for emerging readers, and your little one may be past this, and if that's okay, if that's the case, do a different strategy, or then you're done with the strategy, because the goal with the strategy is initially introduce it, then they use it, and then they get to the point where it's just automatic, and they're not having to think about it anymore. We've got the instructional schedules for week 10, phonics and math. Make sure to include that with your learning. Let's take a look at what's in the student activities for Monday through Friday. So Monday, we've got the George Washington Carver bio. We just talk a tiny bit about slavery because they are in kindergarten, so we're just kind of giving a really high level overview, not any details. We have for phonics, we have the beginning and the middle sound for short O. We have the 3 writing prompts where you can go over these with your little one, explain what the writing prompts are, and then put them in your writing center for them to choose these writing prompts or their blank books, which you should be refreshing every week in their writing center. And then for math, you're going to do this math mat. It's called Spill and Count the Beans. You're going to create some cups with different amounts of beans from your pantry, and then they're going to spill and count them up on the tens frame and then write how many tens and ones. So you'll need to laminate this or put it into a sleeve so that they can write and wipe. And if you don't have beans, you can also cut these out as well. Now here we've got a cotton counting. This is tens and ones. Place value is what we're doing this week. And then for social studies, we're looking at leadership because George Washington Carver was such a great leader, and you're going to learn about what's a win-win situation. Also, don't forget to introduce the sight words of the week. Here they are. Your little one needs to look at them during their reading time this week, and also you can do the sight word activities that are in the instructional schedules because we give an idea for every week for them. Okay, that's Monday. Tuesday, let's put this down too. Tuesday, what's going on? Well, we have our character trait chart, which we always have every Tuesday, and by now this will be your 10th chart like this. And if you're really keeping it up and writing down your thoughts on what it means optimistic and having these conversations and filling this in, you're going to have such an interesting snapshot of what your student was thinking of at this time in their life in kindergarten. And can you imagine 15 years later, you've got 36 of these charts when your kid comes home from college and over the holidays, you're just looking at your memorabilia and you read these. It's going to be so fun. So keep these up. And now you've also got your character scenarios, which you can look at. They're great conversation starters where you can think about what optimism means in a practical way. So for phonics, you're going to read lots of spots, listen for the short O sound, and also take a look at the flashcards. And my cat is joining us, so just ignore her. So you can do this funny phonics tale and these flashcards just with paper, or you can also do the boom card deck as well. So that's really up to you. The boom card is totally digital. Now we've got math. Now for place value, we have tens and ones sheets, and we also have hundreds, tens, and ones sheet if you want to differentiate with more challenge. So you're gonna pick whether you want the tens and ones sheet or the hundreds, tens, and ones, but don't feel like you have to do the hundreds, tens, and ones because this is more of a first grade standard. This is a kindergarten standard, but we realize that some children will want to look at hundreds. And same for this cut and paste activity. We have a tens and ones, and we have a hundreds, tens, and ones. You pick which worksheet makes sense for your little one. And then for social studies, we are doing leadership qualities again. What do you think makes a good leader? So you're going to watch a video on that, which you can find in your curriculum library. So for Wednesday, you have this. So for Wednesday for SEL, you're going to look at bossy bumps and bossiness. And I think that looking over this along with looking at it with your discussion guide that goes with this, I think going back and taking a look at that week 7 activity about how your behavior might be perceived by other people and how that would then make you feel if you knew they felt that way or even responded in a certain way based on your action, I think that would be a really good thing to cover along with this. And being bossy is about being controlling. We have a saying in our household, and it's love is not controlling. And when it comes to peer relationships, we shouldn't be bossing each other around. When it comes to a parent and a child relationship, we have to give guidelines. But generally in a peer relationship, we shouldn't be trying to control each other. We can try to persuade, but we're not supposed to be controlling others because that's not a very loving and friendly thing. And it's not a good way to make friends. All right, so that's SEL. For language, we've got the short O word match. And also for language, you're going to be building words. So again, you can do this in the boom deck, where you're building the words electronically on that practice activity, or you can just grab your mat here, you can grab your letters and just pair it with the flashcards and have your little one build the words with the letters. I recommend not putting all 26 letters out, but just, if maybe half or something like that, so they're not totally overwhelmed. Now, I wanted to point something out on the flashcards. First of all, this is the same deck that I have the E's, the I's, the A's as well. So we have all of our short vowels here, so they can, if they want, they can continue making other words too. But I do have some flashcards that are this regular old CBC, but if you want to do a little bit more differentiation. And if your little one's ready for it and wants more challenge, we have some words with blends in the beginning and the end that you can also look at. And these are the words that were in the Funny Phonics tale. So they'll be familiar with them from having read the tale. So that's the mat. Let's put that back. Okay, so then we're moving on to math. Math, you have a peanut flour, hundreds, tens, and ones. So you have to make different colors based on whether something is, whether something has hundreds in it, or it's just got ones, or if it's a number with just 2 digits in it. So then you have 2 different levels. This one is a little bit more complicated than this one, so you can pick which one you want to color, or both if you want. For this worksheet, we have a tens and ones. It's called Place Value Practice, a tens and ones version. And you also have, here's another tens and ones version. I believe there's also a hundreds, tens, and ones. There's this hundreds, tens, and ones version. If you want, you can do the hundreds, tens, and ones. Don't feel like you have to. It's just for extra practice if your little one's ready for it. And for science, you're going to look at seed to plant. What does a seed need to know in order to grow? So that is Wednesday. So for Thursday for SEL, you're going to take a look at the Wonder Way, and you're going to pair it with this activity, which is about optimistic thinking and positive outlook, and look at some wonder, the wonder of nature, because George Washington Carver really had a sense of wonder about nature. And then you have some discussion ideas that go after that. So that's SEL. For language, you've got the CVC word boxes, you've got this reader, which you can construct on short O, and then you have this activity for math called Place Value Puzzles. There's a tens and ones version, and then there's a hundreds, tens, and ones version. Pick which version you want. And then there's this hundreds, tens, and ones activity here as well. And then for science, you have the parts of a plant. So that's Thursday. Friday for SEL, you're wrapping it up with this Getting to Know George Washington Carver sheet. You can write, I can be optimistic, and write in a response to this question, which your child will tell you, and then they'll dictate it to you and you'll write. You can practice the handwriting for short I, review the sight words with this handwriting sheet, and then do your phonics and math assessment. And that's Friday. Also for Friday, actually, you have the math mat, and here is the math mat, and here's how it goes, basically. So you have this mat here, and you have number cards in the hundreds, tens, and ones places. And you have some cards with these blocks, these unit blocks. So if you happen to have unit blocks, that's cool. You can use these. If you don't, you can use the printable version. But what you're going to do is give your little one a number, and then they're going to build the number. And you can use the hundreds if you want. If you want to just do the tens and ones, you can do that too. So they would build a number. Let's say we want to build 900, and let's see, what are we, 900, let's see, 929, you kind of build it like that. And then in addition to that, you take your mat here and you build it with the cards. So these are the cards that I have. We've got some ones, we've got tens, and we've got hundreds. So you would need to put 9 hundreds here, you would put 2 tens here, and then the number of ones here. Now this is a pretty big number, so you don't have to do this big of a number, but you have all the cards that will take you all the way to 999, and then as extra, we also have the thousands cards as well, if you want to use those, but totally optional if you want some additional challenge. So this is our math mat. Let's put our numbers back here. I do think it's worth laminating the number cards, especially if you know you have a sibling that's going to be using this in an upcoming year. So that's the math mat. So for extra work, you have these various phonics worksheets which you can sprinkle out throughout the week, and then you have all of these thousands cards which are not even in the, it's just really extra for you because we don't cover these at all in thousands blocks. Now this was the activity I was talking about when it comes to social awareness. And we've got, it's called Hidden Rules. It was from week 7. If you haven't done this yet, or you haven't gotten a chance to do all of the scenarios, because actually there are quite a few that you can actually do, but you think about what's the expected behavior in a certain situation? What would be an unexpected behavior in that situation? How would others feel if I did that behavior? What would others do? Others might do as in a response to me doing that behavior, and how would I feel as a result of that? So we have some examples of some expected behaviors and some unexpected behaviors, and it helps your child to kind of get a sense of how others would respond when you do the expected behavior versus the unexpected behavior. And you know, when it comes to bossiness, how would others feel and what they might do as a result of that trouble spot is a good thing to understand. Now when it comes to social awareness, it's really good to go back to basics and understand just emotions. And these cards from week 7 as well, if you haven't gotten a chance to do them, show different scenarios, and you're going to ask how the person might feel and what clues they have. So this helps to identify body language and social awareness and feelings, identifying feelings in various situations. So do that if you have not done it. So those are the activities for week 10. I think it's going to be a fun week. We really have such an amazing hero of the week. I personally really like George Washington Carver a lot. He was somebody who took a lot of initiative. He never gave up and was so brilliant at what he did. And also, he not only showed what was possible for him, he showed other people what was possible, things that they never thought possible. And I hope that your little ones also enjoy getting to know this amazing hero. Well, everyone, let me know if you have any questions about the activities for week 10. Happy to help. You're doing great, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye!